Um, Good morning, Amy.
Good morning.
We are delighted to have you with us this morning to talk about this subject, which I think is very relevant today because I think the era of COVID is the era of uncertainty, right? Everyone's really unsure where the businesses are going. And so the idea of spending a lot of money on advertising is a little frightening because you just don't really know where things are going. But email marketing remains an affordable way to get your message out, and it's surprisingly more effective than people think it is. So very excited to be talking about this with you this morning. Why don't we start out by, Amy, tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about your background. How did you come to start Coastal Marketing Solutions, and why did you gravitate towards email marketing? Just give us a little history.
Sure. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you all being here. And thanks to Bert and to Robin and Cape Cod Technology Council. My background is that first of all, I'm a marketing major I graduated from Bryant, well, it was Bryant College, now it's Bryant University. And out of college, I came out into a marketplace where there was, a down market. And so I returned home to the Cape Cod, which I wanted to do anyway, and found it a little bit difficult, but I found my way through different avenues and trying to work my way into marketing departments. And then I found back in '97 that I ended up starting the marketing department for a local community bank. And we did everything internal. They had no in-house marketing department at that point in time. Everything was outsourced, and they felt like they were spending a lot of money on the people, agencies and everything doing the work for them. There was no cohesive brand because we just didn't have really anything. So started to do that, and I worked with them for 12 years. We went from 3 branches to 6 in that time, and did every single aspect of marketing in-house. Whether that was the marketing plan to the, press releases to designing ads, everything was done in-house. And then again, another down market, and after 12 years, I was laid off. In 2009, early 2009, and I started my business at that point in time because I felt like I could bring a little bit of a different element to being a marketing agency for small to mid-sized businesses and some nonprofits. I came to it from a business side of it, where I'm not looking to be the ad agency, that's going to sell you the slick deal. I'm coming at it from a practicality, really, of what works, what doesn't work. And so I started doing that in 2009, and here we are. It's 11 years later, and I'm still doing it. And as far as my, I became an email marketing person. I've always been an email marketing person. I was using that back in my marketing days. It was really a leveling of the playing field for a local community bank to be able to email their customers. At that point, prior to that, only the big banks like Bank of America could really do it because they had systems built in place internally that could do it. So when Constant Contact came along, and they started 22 years ago, that really started to level the playing field for smaller businesses to be able to really compete on a level of a bigger company. And I think that's really changed a lot of different things. Then we'll talk more about, about why email marketing, but that's sort of how I ended up getting into it.
Okay, great. So Amy, tell us, how would you define email marketing? Like what things fall under that heading?
Well, I think email marketing at its core, is really about just staying in touch with your customers, engaging them, making sure that they're, in tune with what's happening with your business, with what's, you know, if you have different services or products that they, you know, they may only use one aspect of your business. And it astonishes me how many businesses don't understand that if you don't stay in front of them and tell them that you even do the services that they've used in the past, they don't remember sometimes. But you have to stop and think, how many messages are we all bombarded with every single day? And you know, and people, it just gets put out of their mind. It's not, it's our top of mind of our businesses, you know, of our own stuff, but it's not top of mind of everybody else's. So you have to stay in front of them. So it's really about, you know, staying connected, engaging with them. You know, it's not a single use thing. I mean, there are other ways to do that, but I think it's one of the best ways to do it because it's the most cost efficient. It's the most successful in terms of actually bringing in sales and that type of thing. So, I mean, you can use email marketing for, you know, just sending out newsletters. You can send it out for sales that you have for products and services. You can, for events, you know, all different types of things. And it's really it's so cost efficient. I mean, it used to be you'd have to do direct mail, which is so expensive if you had an event, but that's not necessarily the case anymore. You have a quick, easy way to stay in touch with them and do it multiple times, which sometimes anyone who's planning an event on Cape Cod would tell you. You need to keep sending it out because the people do it last minute. But
yeah, that's right. So Amy, you mentioned that you started your business in 2009. So that was just about the time of the last major financial crisis that we had, the last time businesses were holding their breath and struggling. Tell us what kind of similarities you see between then and now, and how the relevance of email marketing has played into both crises.
Yeah, I think, you know, the similarities are certainly the uncertainty, and businesses didn't stop necessarily. The vast majority of businesses didn't stop marketing in that time frame. Some of them did, and I don't know if they really survived. I mean, you need to stay in front of somebody, but you need to do it in a smart way so that you're making sure that every single marketing dollar you're spending is being used in the most cost efficient way. And there's, in my eye, there's really no more cost efficient way to market than through email marketing. You know, there's a lot of other marketing and it all supports one another, don't get me wrong. But if you could only do one thing, I really feel very strongly that it's email marketing, because you get, for every dollar you spend, you get $38 in return on your investment. So you can't say that about social media. Social media, you can stay connected with your customers and your visitors and everything, and that's great. And I believe in that wholeheartedly. But you don't see sales from those things by and large. You know, you might get one eventually, but it's going to take you a long time. Versus if you send an email out.
So you just mentioned a stat there with the $38. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very cost efficient for email marketing. You know, for example, Constant Contact, it's basically, you can start for as little as $20 a month. And you can send as many emails out as you want in that month, you know, it doesn't, to different groups. I mean, whatever you want. But it's only, you're spending $20 a month. So for every dollar you're spending there, you're probably, the vast majority of the time, you're seeing $38 of a return, because every time you send something out, every time I've ever sent an email out, especially talking about a service, I've gotten leads. And I know, Robin, you send a lot of emails out for events. Every time you send it out, aren't you getting events? You know, yeah. People signing up for those events. So you're getting the chance to be directly in front of them. And that means that, you know, you have that chance to turn it into a sale. Now, it could be that you're buying directly from the email marketing, and that, you know, that's an obvious thing, but it could be that I get that lead. I talk to somebody about, their marketing and their marketing strategy, what they need to do. And that turns into into a sale. So you can't really say that for, working on Facebook or on Twitter or Instagram, unless it's like an Instagram and you're, sending it to your Etsy page or something and selling something like that, you might see it. There's not a lot of statistics yet on Instagram for that, but you don't see it in the other areas.
Amy, quick question. Do you have a similar statistic for nonprofits? Do you have $38 return on dollars spent for nonprofits as well?
There probably is one. I don't have one right in front of me. However, I can certainly look that up. I know that for the nonprofits that send money out, or send emails out, that they, requesting, with a call of action of donating and things like that, that they do get returns on that. And that's honestly in an era like this right now, it's one of the best ways to really stay in front of them, because they can't do the large events that they normally do for fundraising. They can do an appeal letter, which they've always done in the past, but it's also, this is a way to stay in front of those people that might have come to some of those events and donated. So I know that it works. I don't know if it's exactly the same as the one for $38 for every dollar you spend, but but I can certainly find that out for you.
I think we can speak to it from the point of view of the Tech Council. That we market our events a number of different ways, and we survey the attendees as to where they heard about the event, and the overwhelming majority of people who sign up for our events saw it through an email, through our email newsletter. So it is very effective for us. So Amy, let's get into, the do's and don'ts here. So here we are in this pandemic, and so you're saying email is a great way to stay in front of people. So during the shutdown, I would think email marketing became particularly relevant because it was the only way to get in front of people, right? No one could, go out of the house. But that also meant that a whole lot of people were now trying to send emails. So there's more competition for people's time than ever. So what strategies and advice are you giving your clients about how to be the email that people open?
Sure. Well, first of all, you want to try to keep it on the shorter side if you can. You want to make sure that it's got a message, a really focused message, and you want to make sure that it has a call to action. So if you're sending it for a nonprofit, you give a story of what these dollars are going to go to, any donation that you make, no matter what size, it's going to this. And so that they know that, their dollars are really going to, whatever they can spare, even if it's $5, that it's going to this particular fund and it's going to make an impact. As far as businesses, I've seen a lot of businesses that had to really switch and get into gear. For example, restaurants that may not have always sent out things were sending things out every single week. Or sometimes even more frequently than that for different, with a special, what their specials were for that day, because all of a sudden they had to turn their entire business on its head and provide, rather than sit down eating, turn it into a takeout business. And that wasn't, for some businesses, they had some takeout business, but for some businesses, which was more, a higher end restaurant, that was a completely different model for them. But it made all of the difference because they sent out, what their daily specials were, or what their, if they had it for the week, these are going to be our specials for this week. And they would get people coming in. That was how they reached them. You could spend hundreds of dollars on a newspaper ad that you're hoping somebody in your area would see. These are people who have actually signed up because they want to be on your email list. They want to hear from you. And I think that's the one thing that a lot of businesses are afraid of. They don't want to oversend to people. They don't want to be a nuisance. Well, it's not a nuisance. They signed up because they wanted to hear from you. They like your business. They want to stay in touch with you. They want to know that you're okay, for one thing, in this environment. They want to know, okay, is it okay to come in? What are you doing for your COVID? What's your COVID response? Are you going to are you keeping everything really clean? Are you going to make me comfortable to walk into your restaurant or to your store? And that became more and more important over time during this pandemic. And it's still very important. I know people are kind of sick of hearing about it, but at the same time, you need to make people comfortable to walk into your places of business. And make sure that you have that call to action. What do you want them to do? Do you want them to call and order a dinner? Do you want them to donate? Do you want them to sign up for, a promotion that you're doing? You need to have a call to action. Donate, read more, learn more, things like that. Those are calls to action, and that's very, very important.
And Constant Contact makes it very easy to add those call to action buttons, right?
They do. They're really good at the latest generation in their email marketing editors are so user-friendly. It's drag and drop. It's at one point in time, it used to be a little clunky. It's so much different now. It's such a different experience. But you can drag and drop, blocks over. You can drag and drop a button over. And when you click on that button, you can type in what you want it to say, donate, and then right underneath it, you put in the web address or URL as to where to take them to donate. So it's really very, very quick and easy.
Makes it easy.
It does. It does.
So, Amy, what would you say is, I know this is hard to generalize, but maybe you could give us sort of a range. What is the right amount of email for a business to send out? So, we all struggle with that. You alluded to it. We're afraid we're going to be annoying. Somebody unsubscribes to my email list and, I get hurt. Oh my God, they don't want to hear from me. I'm annoying people. I need to stop all email now. So what have you seen to be, a fair, strategy to go with in terms of the number and frequency of emails?
Yeah. It's really a difficult question to answer because every business is different. But we do have some industry standards for industry specific, so we can generally do that. I would not do it less than once a month. I think you should always stay. That's a good point to start from. I mean, it may vary from business to business, and it may vary during the pandemic, and need to stay in front of people. I can look up industry specific numbers for people, and I'm happy to do that if you want to just email me or whatever. But, and I can also find out, I've got connections up at, Constant Contact, because I can call them and find out what the industry standards are, what people are doing right now, if that's changed over time and things like that.
Would you say that there's a general, minimum, like, you really don't want to send people 10 emails a day, right? So, like,
No.
Yeah.
I don't generally recommend sending it more than once a week, depending on the business. That changed a little bit. I mean, I had one restaurant that was sending me, a couple of times a week, and I'm okay with that because it's a restaurant that I really like. Another thing that you can do is you can send an email out to your list and ask them, how often do you want to hear from me? And you can have, it segment your list so that there's some people that only want to hear from you once a month. That's fine. there are other people that might want to hear from you twice a week, you know, because they don't want to cook for themselves at home, you know. They want to support local business. So, so that's perfectly acceptable, and I think, I think a lot of people would appreciate that too. So, I strongly encourage to do that before, you know, just throwing up your hands and saying, well, I'm only going to do it once a month. You know, maybe some people want to hear from you. That's a good way to find out, you know. So
let's talk about the list a little bit.
Sure.
So you know, you're hopefully creating all kinds of great content that you're putting in your email list, and you've got great promotions and all of that. But you know, who's it going to go to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk a little bit about strategies for growing your email list and for managing the list, because you mentioned their segment, and talk a little about that.
Sure. Yeah, you know, I mean, initially we all start out with a list of, you know, maybe it's your friends and family list of people to try to get your growing. But if you have people who are, you know, for an organization like Cape Cod Technology Council, you're collecting emails when they are signing up for events, and there's usually a button that says, do you want to receive our email? And it's always a permission-based situation that you really should be doing. You shouldn't be going, well, none of us are going to networking events right now, but unless it's virtual, but you shouldn't be going to a chamber event or, you know, like a women's association dinner or something, just collecting email card, you know, collecting business cards and then adding them to an email list. You really need to ask people permission, you know, to send that. And one way to do that, if you do have all of these emails, is that you could send out a list and say, we're trying to grow our email list. We're wondering if you'd be willing to you know, be added to our list. You know, we've recently met at a networking event, you know, and then put those cards into that and see if they're signing up. If they say no, then you chuck it, you know. But so there is a way to use those business cards. I don't want to say that it's completely useless, but you do want to ask permission to do that. We've all received the email out of the blue from some, like, what? I never signed up for this. And that's when you're going to start seeing people not only unsubscribe, but mark you as spam, and that's a bad idea. As far as, you know, if you have one big list, that can be cumbersome, and you want to be serving your people better. I have done a few things in the past when I've done that. I've tried to, through my emails, I tried to break up what by service, you know. So if I have a couple of different things in the email, if one is talking about marketing strategy, you know, I create a new list, and anybody who signs up or anybody who clicks on that would go into marketing strategy sort of bucket, if you will, so that I know that down the road that they might be somebody who would be a more targeted message for marketing strategy. Or I might, if there's clicking on social media, you know, I might have another list for social media. But there's also ways to grow your list through creating landing pages for signing up for your newsletter. And that's something very easily done now through Constant Contact also, is that you can create a list and, for, you know, Facebook signups, or have one that's website sign up, or, you know, any type of a thing. If you have you can make it so that somebody's signing up because they want to see, be really specific, you know, 10 things to do if you're a landscape designer, you know, 10 ways to grow your business or something, and have like a white paper. So when they sign up, first of all, you know, it's going to that list. So you know that they're a landscape, you know, designer. And secondly, you can then have it so that when they actually sign up, the email that goes back, you know, that responds to them has a link to be able to download that white paper. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. And if you're a store, you can have a sign up in the store, you know, to be able to, you know, just a book even, or, you know, a sign up sheet. And then at the end of the day, you enter those new names. So.
Okay, great.
There's a lot of ways to do it.
Okay, excellent. So Amy, I can tell when you talk about this that you have a passion for it. Tell us what you like best about what you do.
It's going to sound a little cliche, but I truly love meeting small business owners and nonprofit organizers, and really working with them closely, learning about their organization, and then developing a strategy that will help them utilize what little marketing dollars they might have, because none of us have enough marketing dollars, but to utilize it best and help their organization grow, their business, their organization. That's what gives me the most satisfaction. It's what drives me, and especially, you know, honestly, at this point in the, you know, when I first started in the economic downturn, going back to that, you know, and now with what we're all facing, it's really what kind of, you know, keeps me going and makes me want to get up in the morning and do what I do every single day.
Well, that is a wonderful way to have a career, isn't it? When you enjoy what you do and you work with people and enjoy helping them. Let's get a few fun facts, Amy. So where are you from originally? You said the Cape, you were born here?
I was not. I was born in Connecticut, and I moved up here with my family when I was 11 years old, and went to the Dennis and Yarmouth school system, so I'm a DY grad, and then went off to college in Rhode Island, but I came back and to work on the Cape, and I've somehow managed to eke out a career here in different ways. And
what's your favorite place on the Cape?
You know, so many great places on Cape Cod. I mean, I hate to single out any one area, but I would honestly, my favorite place to go, and I haven't gotten up there this summer. I'm not sure I got up there last summer either, which is really awful, but is up to Provincetown. And I've tried to figure out why I love it up there so much, but I think it's because well, one, it's fun, but two, it's such the community, the seaside, close-knit community up there, and they accept everybody. You know, it doesn't matter, you know, anything. Everyone likes it there because it's such a special place, and they're a very close community. And I just think that that's what we all need right now, more and more. And I think that's why I love to go up there so much, although I don't get up there nearly as often as I would like to.
And what was that restaurant that you didn't mind getting a daily email from?
That is actually Sea Dog Brew Pub in South Yarmouth.
Dog Brew Pub. Good. Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, it's your typical pub fare and everything, but I have yet to have a bad meal there. And it doesn't matter what I get, whether an appetizer, a meal, sandwich, salad, whatever. Everything is always good. So I just like.
A good shout out for Sea Dog there. What's your favorite movie?
Oh, that's such a difficult one for me to answer because I like so many different genres. One of my favorite movies is, oh gosh, I guess if I had to pick one, maybe The Godfather.
Oh, that's what I would pick. I mean, come on. Isn't that what we would all pick?
It's not personal, it's business. Take
Yeah, that's a great line. All
drop
right.
the gun, take the cannoli. You know, yeah, there's a lot of
My
good.
all-time favorite line, leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Yeah.
All right, well, Amy, we're gonna move to questions from the audience in a second, but before we do that, is there anything else that you'd like to tell people about Coastal Marketing Solutions or email marketing that we haven't covered already?
You know, I think I would just say that, you know, that what you see here is sort of what you get. I'm very genuine. 95% of the work that gets done here is done by me. I do outsource a few things. I work with Jean Carafis, who's on here, with you know, WordPress websites to develop that. I work with people. If it's outsourced, it's because I know that that they have a like mind of focusing on the customer and doing what's best for them, and that you know, that they're gonna pay that close attention to it, and they have a much better skill set that for that particular item than I do.
Excellent. Okay. Well, with that, I think we will entertain some questions from the audience. So, Bert, do we have any in the chat that we haven't addressed?
There haven't been questions. There's just been a couple of comments.
Okay.
Jean had mentioned that she said that it's good to wait 4 days between emails, which I'm a violator of that, because we generally send our tech council email with, you know, the event for this week, and then, you know, what's happening. Then underneath, you know, that's the main call to action. Then we have some other things afterwards, and then I send a reminder email on Thursday. And I will tell you, it works. You know, we get some signups on Tuesday, and people are very last minute here on Cape Cod. I don't know if it's that way elsewhere, but I used to panic about First Fridays and other events. Monday we'd have no one signed up, and then on Friday we'd have 80 people. So just how do you feel about that close time frame of, you know, something on a Tuesday, then a reminder on Thursday?
I think I don't mind it, because I have to a certain degree. I don't want a steady diet of that, to be honest with you. But I do think that sometimes people, you know, people get the initial email and they're like, oh yeah, I need to do that. And then the day goes along. But so I appreciate the reminder especially for an event. But I wouldn't want it necessarily less than 4 days apart for the, you know, the email from the restaurant or something like that, unless it was something earth shattering. You know, I mean, pretty much I know what's, you know, going on otherwise, you know, so I probably wouldn't want that.
I almost depend on the reminder email.
Yeah.
You get so much stuff in your inbox, and I see an event, and I'm like, I might like this. They'll send me another one. Delete it. Right?
Yeah, I kind of depend on it sometimes too. So especially for events, I think that's a different avenue than your normal informational email. I think events are a little bit different, especially as you get close to the event, because people are notorious. I think it's all over, but you know, I've worked mostly around Cape, so Cape Codders are notorious. We wait till the last minute, you know, to make a final decision. Yep, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, so.
I see Kate waving her hand. She's got a question. Go ahead, Kate. I think you're muted.
Hey, Amy, this is great. Thank you so much. I think I heard you mention to ask your email newsletter subscribers how often they want to hear from you. Is that just a question you pose in one of your email newsletters, or do you do that individually? Any recommendations?
No, I mean, and you don't have to do that, but I think that you know, if you're seeing high unsubscribe numbers, you know, and everything's relative. I mean, if you have a list of 1,000 people and, you know, you're getting 5 unsubscribes or something a month, that's, that's just people's changing their, what they want to hear from. That I wouldn't worry about that. If you're seeing, 10, 20 or more unsubscribes every month, then I would probably reach out with a individual email. I would create its own email and I would send it out to the entire list. But before you do that, you make sure that you have set up new lists that create, that they will click on if they want to receive it only once a month, so that it automatically goes in there. You don't have to manually move that. Don't worry about if they've signed up on 3 different things, they're only going to get one email. At least through Constant Contact. They're really good about trying to tighten it up and make sure they're only receiving it from one email. That they're only sending to one email. But make sure you have all of that set up so it automatically goes there. And then that way, okay, I'm not going to use the giant list for everybody anymore. I'm going to use these lists, and I'm only going to send, if they only want to hear from me once a month, they'll hear from me once a month. They'll get the big newsletter with everything in it, or if they want to hear from me once a week, and then they'll hear from me once a week, and I'll update them on what's going on, this week. It might be in a little more detail than what you send out for the monthly one, but that might be what they want.
Great.
Thanks.
Hey, Amy, we've got a question about landing pages. Do you use the landing page feature in Constant Contact? And just sort of as a corollary, it asks about if MailChimp has an equivalent. And we really haven't talked about other platforms besides Constant Contact. And
Right.
I know you're a Constant Contact partner, so I'm sure you have a preference. But what is your thought about some of the other platforms that are out there? And if you could address the landing page question.
Sure. There are other platforms out there, and I can't really speak to a lot of them because from the very beginning, way back when I was with the bank, I started using Constant Contact, and I was a customer long before I became a solution provider. And I did that. I became a solution provider because when I started, I had a lot of customers who were already Constant Contact users. And by becoming a solution provider, it gave me an easier way to manage those clients because I have a back-end portal that I can just log in without having to actually use a separate login for each one. I log into my partner portal and then I can just go in and do the work. Now, some of them I manage, I send out newsletters all the time. Others, I set them up, did manage them for a while, and then others I have now been trained. There's others in the office that do it or something like that. So it evolves over time. As far as I have tried to use other platforms in the past, I have not found them to be as user-friendly. It hasn't been recently, so I can't speak to that. I know that all of them have evolved over time, and maybe that's better. I know that in talking to some people who have used MailChimp in the past, they have found it difficult to get customer service by phone or get an answer from them regarding help. One of the things I loved from way back when I first started with Constant Contact is that they've always had a really good knowledge base where you could read through different things, and they've really developed also a lot of great videos to be able to watch and watch them show you how to use different features, which I think is great because some people prefer to learn visually like that, and some people prefer to read through and how to go step by step. I sometimes use a combination of both depending on the situation, where I'll watch it first, and then when I go to do it, I'll go through the step by step and the written portion if I need to. But most of the time now, I don't even need to, I'll just watch the video and I go, okay, and I'll go do that. So, because it has become so much more user-friendly. And then, oh, for the landing pages, sorry. That is a relatively new feature with Constant Contact. I have used it on here. I don't know if MailChimp has a similar feature, but oh, I'm getting a yes from my friend Jean. They do have that feature also. So I highly recommend doing that. It's a great way to segment your list so that you don't have to, going forward, so that you know where it came from, or so in what their interests are, or use it to specialize the list. Like I said, you can do a checklist that, a one-page checklist that you'll send for somebody that might, want to use that. Or I have a one-page marketing plan that I've used as a lure to get people to sign up, and so I know that they're using more strategy type of a thing, and are you looking for more strategy and coaching and that type.
Good. Amy, Brian's got a couple questions. One has to do with your feelings on frequencies for email touches for nonprofits versus retailers. Do you think that there's do you have a sense of that? And his other question is, getting started with his own nonprofit, the Harwich Fund, and looking to feel, do you think the emails how does the email efficacy compare to snail mail?
Yeah. So as far as frequency, there's an organization that I get an email from every single week. I visit once in a great while because it's in Florida. It's only when I go down to visit my folks. But I'm very interested in the organization itself and what the mission is and everything. So I don't mind getting that once a week. And it updates on different things. It's a little longer probably than I'd like to see it, but that's, it's all right. I don't unsubscribe to it because, as I said, I'm really interested in the organization. And as far as frequency numbers, again, that's something I can find out a little bit more, and I can get back to you, Brian. If you want to put your email address in the, I'm not gonna put you on my email list. I will just email you the responses to it, to what I find out for nonprofits for you.
I didn't want to derail this particular call for my interest, but I think I would like to follow up and get some of your advice. I don't know what the entry point is for a startup like we are, but I'd rather us approach our first awareness campaign,
Sure.
as efficient and as respectful as we possibly can out of the blocks.
Absolutely. Do you have your 501c3?
Yes. Yeah, well, the Cape Cod Foundation does. So we're a town fund within it.
Okay.
We've already been raising money, so we have a significant amount to the endowment, but we really haven't started a campaign yet. We've even had our first grantee, which I'm excited to announce.
Awesome.
So we're moving,
Yeah.
but what we want to do is fall campaigns where people are in the spirit of philanthropic giving.
Right. So do you have any idea what size your email list is?
I don't even know where to start with the email and how to even collect email addresses.
All right.
So
well,
anyway, I don't want to derail this, but I mean, I am very interested.
You and we'll talk. I noticed an email in here, or a message, Bert, that I wanted to address.
Okay.
This is Ackerman. I did not have you as a teacher. I do remember your name very, very well, and my last name was Dowd. I'm an only child, though, so Kim Dowd came before me, about a year or two ahead of me, and she's not my sister. But so you may have had Kim as a student.
So Amy, I've got a question about, sometimes I read about this term called deliverability.
Mm-hmm.
And, people say, oh, my email, you sent me an email and it ended up in like my promotions tab or my junk mail. Is there anything we can do to, as users to improve our deliverability?
Yeah, and I'm going to forget the term right now, but there is a way to, I think it's authorized or authorization or something. An option in your settings in Constant Contact to do that. The other thing to do that is you can share with your database, you know, that you're of the people that you're sending out, or if somebody says that to you, is ask them to drag the, you know, a lot of it's coming, I can only speak to Gmail because I've heard that if you drag it out of promotions and put it into your primary, that email address should then going forward, should report to that. Beyond that, I don't know if, you know, I said, I'm gonna forget what it is. I think it's an authorization area that when you're setting up your settings in overall in Constant Contact, that you can set it up so that it's your address .cc send .something, and I think that's supposed to help with getting through some of that clutter.
Great.
Okay, I can see that Jean has put some instructions for doing that authentication setting in the chat. So, so if anybody, maybe Bert, do you want to? I don't remember how to do this, but do you want to give people instructions for how to save the chat in case they want to?
Right. So if you have your chat window open, there's like in the lower right, there's 3 little dots, a button with 3 little dots. When you click on that, you can just click Save Chat and do that.
Great. So I think we're going to do 2 more questions. There's one here in the chat, and then I have one last one. And this is a good question. Somebody's asking, Amy, are there any local Constant Contact user groups that meet regularly? Is there any kind of meetup group for Constant Contact?
No, there isn't. That's very interesting. Maybe we should start one.
Maybe you should start one. Okay, thank you, Allison. Thank Allison for that suggestion.
Allison.
I'll come. If you start one, I'll come, Amy.
Okay.
I will too.
Virtually.
Okay, so you got a group already, 3 of them. Okay, last question, Amy. People talk a lot about this, the open rate. Okay, you know, it's one of the measurements that people look at for how effective their newsletters are. So what's a good range of open rates?
Well, you asked loaded questions, don't you? You know, it depends on the industry. Some are better than others. You know, I think that the tighter you can make your list in what you send to people and make it really segmented so that you're sending the right message to the right people at the right time, that will increase your open rates. You know, I have a pretty small list, but I do have a pretty good open rate. I have a client who's got a pretty small list, maybe under 100 people or something, or just around 100. And she gets an open rate of, you know, 75 or 80%, which is not the norm.
That's a lot.
But it's very targeted, and it's a very simple, and she sends a blog post out every month of, you know, on the topic of what her business is, and that's interesting to people that are on her list, and she gets a great open rate, you know. But some lists, and I think sometimes people are worried about how many people they have on their list. I think you need to have the right people on your list. You know, I mean, you could have a list of 3,000 people, but if only 30 people are opening it, you know, you're going to have a really bad open rate. But those 30 people that open it might also be the most, you know, might get you sales that are, you know, that can pay.
Right, it only takes one, right.
Yeah, that can pay for Constant Contact for 10 years, I mean, you know, so it's,
I mean, can you give people just a range, though, of what they should be expecting?
Well, I think you want to try to see, I'd love to see it up around, you know, 40, 50%. But, you know, I think you're probably closer to 25 or 30%.
On 25 or 30%, you're in the average zone. Okay. All right. Well, that is great. And that's, I think we're going to wrap here.
Yeah.